Welcome to our channel. Today we bring you a shocking story that reveals how success can be both a blessing and a curse. What would you do if the company you built from scratch was taken away by your own family? How far would you go to reclaim what is yours? Find out now. For 10 years, I poured my heart and soul into our family's small tech business, transforming it from a struggling startup into a company valued at $50 million. But sometimes success breeds envy, even among those who should celebrate your achievements. I still remember the early days when our family business was nothing more than a small computer repair shop in a shopping mall. Dad had started it 20 years ago, and it was his pride and joy, even though it barely earned enough to support the family. My sister Emma was always his favorite, the straight-A student who went to a prestigious business school. I was the quiet one, the one who stayed behind to help Dad while studying computer science at a local university. "Sarah, you're wasting your potential here," Emma would say during her visits home from college. "You should aim for something bigger." But I saw something in our little shop that no one else did: potential. While Emma was studying theoretical business models, I was learning real-world programming and spotting market opportunities. In my final year of college, I developed our first proprietary software, a simple but effective tool for small businesses to manage their inventory. It wasn't revolutionary, but it was easy to use and affordable. Dad was skeptical at first, but when local businesses began buying licenses, his attitude shifted. "Maybe you're on to something big, kiddo," he said, showing pride in my work for the first time. Those words meant everything to me then, though I had no idea how fleeting they would be. Under my leadership, the business grew steadily. I worked 14-hour days, 7 days a week. While Emma climbed the corporate ladder at a prestigious consulting firm in New York, I was building something real. Our small repair shop evolved into a software development company, and our client base expanded from local businesses to national corporations. Mom watched it all with quiet concern. "Don't work so hard, Sarah," she'd say while bringing me dinner at the office. "You need a life outside of work too." But I was driven by a vision, and deep down, perhaps by a desire to prove myself to my family. 5 years into our transformation, we hit our first million in annual revenue. That's when Emma suddenly took an interest in the family business again. She quit her job in New York and came back home. "I think it's time I take my place in the company," Emma announced during a family dinner. "With my business expertise, we could take this to the next level." Dad beamed with pride. "That's wonderful, Princess. Your professional touch is exactly what we need." I sat there, my fork frozen in midair, trying to process what was happening. The company I had built almost from scratch was being handed to my sister on a silver platter, but I swallowed my objections and tried to be a team player. Emma was named co-CEO alongside me, despite having no experience in our industry. Dad said it would be good for the company's image to have someone with her credentials at the helm. I focused on product development and operations, while she took over marketing and investor relations. The next 5 years were a study in contrasts. While I continued developing new software solutions and nurturing client relationships, Emma became the glamorous face of the company. She gave interviews about being a woman in tech, accepted entrepreneurship awards, and took credit for the innovations my team and I had created. Our revenue kept growing, reaching $50 million annually, but so did the tension between us. Emma started excluding me from key meetings, making decisions without consulting me, and slowly pushing me to the sidelines of my own creation. Then came Dad's 60th birthday party, the day everything changed. The party was, of course, Emma's idea. She rented the most expensive ballroom in the city and invited all our business partners. It felt more like a networking event than a birthday celebration, but that was Emma's style. Everything had to have a purpose. I arrived early to help with the preparations, wearing a simple black dress that Emma immediately criticized. "Couldn't you have tried harder?" she whispered disdainfully. "Important people are coming tonight." I ignored her comment and focused on welcoming the guests. The room quickly filled with business partners, clients, and family friends. Emma moved through the crowd like a politician, while I stayed in the background, ensuring everything ran smoothly. During dinner, Emma tapped her glass and stood to give a speech. I expected the usual, a touching tribute to Dad, maybe a few childhood memories. Instead, she dropped a bombshell that would shatter our family forever. "As we celebrate Dad's 60th birthday," she began, her voice carrying across the silent room, "I think it's time to announce some changes at Chen Technologies. The board has agreed that the company needs unified leadership moving forward." My heart stopped. "Board meetings? What board meetings?" Emma continued her speech, declaring her intention to take full control as CEO while publicly demoting me. Dad looked proud and Mom avoided my gaze, her hands trembling slightly. I stood up slowly, picked up my purse, and placed a small wrapped package in front of Dad. "Happy birthday, Dad," I said softly, then walked out of the room with my head held high. That night, sitting in my office, surrounded by awards and patents bearing my name, I made a decision. Emma thought she had won, but she had overlooked a crucial detail, something that would turn her triumphant moment into the biggest mistake of her life. As I powered up my laptop and began to type, a small smile crept across my lips. Tomorrow was going to be interesting, no doubt about it. After all, there's more than one way to run a successful business, and I had learned more in 10 years than Emma ever did in her fancy business classes. The next morning dawned bright and clear. I arrived at the office early before anyone else and waited. At 9 o'clock sharp, Emma walked in through the main door with Dad, both wearing triumphant smiles that were about to fade. "Sarah?" Emma's voice held a mix of surprise and annoyance. "What are you doing here? I thought after last night you'd have the dignity to stay home." I smiled, recalling the email I had sent at 3 a.m. to all of Chen Technologies' key clients, partners, and employees. "Just tying up some loose ends, dear sister. But since you're here, we should probably talk about the future of the company." "There's nothing to discuss," Dad interjected firmly. "Emma is in charge now. The board has already approved it." "Ah, yes, the board," I said, pulling out my tablet. "Let's talk about that. You see, while Emma was busy planning parties and giving interviews, I was building this company. And there are a few things you both seem to have forgotten." I projected a document onto the main conference room screen. "First, let me remind you that I own 51% of Chen Technologies shares. When we incorporated the company 10 years ago, Dad gave Emma and me equal 25% shares, keeping 50% for himself. But 3 years ago, when we needed capital to expand, Dad sold me 26% of the shares. Remember that day? Dad, you were too busy attending one of Emma's award ceremonies to handle the negotiations yourself, so you signed the papers without reading them carefully." The color drained from their faces. Emma's perfectly manicured hands gripped the conference table. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Dad would never do that." "But he did," I continued, displaying more documents. "And that's not all. The core software that generates 80% of our revenue doesn't belong to Chen Technologies. It's owned by my independent company, Innovate Solutions LLC. Chen Technologies only has a licensing agreement, which expires," I glanced at my watch, "in about 10 minutes. Dad collapsed into a chair, realization dawning across his face. "The renewal papers, the ones you asked me to sign last week, the ones I didn't read because I was helping Emma plan the party." "Yes, those papers," I confirmed. "I decided not to submit them." Emma's face twisted with rage. "You're a traitor!" "Careful, sister," I interrupted her. "You might want to hear the rest before finishing that sentence. While you were announcing my supposed graceful exit last night, I was emailing our clients. You see, most of our key clients have personal loyalty clauses in their contracts. They signed with Chen Technologies because of me, because of my expertise and my track record. Last night, I informed them of the leadership changes and my departure." I projected my email onto the screen, showcasing dozens of replies that had already come in. "Do you want to know how many have already activated their termination clauses, or how many of our top developers, who, by the way, are employees of Innovate Solutions, have already accepted positions at my new company?" The room fell into a heavy silence. Through the glass walls, we could see employees gathering, whispering as they checked their emails. Emma's perfect composure crumbled as she frantically scrolled through her phone. "You can't do this," she stammered. "The company?" I asked. "The company you tried to steal from me? The one you thought you could take because you have an MBA and Dad's approval? That company ceased to exist the moment you decided to humiliate me in front of everyone we know." I stood, smoothing my dress. "So, here are your options. Option 1. I leave with my shares, my software, my clients, and my employees. Chen Technologies becomes an empty shell, and you can explain to all those important people you invited last night why the company's value dropped to zero overnight." Dad's face had aged 10 years in the last 10 minutes. "And option 2? He asked weakly. "Option 2, you both resign. I take full control of Chen Technologies. You keep your shares as silent partners, receiving dividends but with no say in operations. Emma gets a generous severance package and glowing references for her next job somewhere far away from here." Emma's face turned an interesting shade of red. "You planned all of this, didn't you?" You were just waiting for the right moment to stab us in the back. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. No, Emma, I spent 10 years trying to be a good daughter and sister while both of you took me for granted. I built this company from nothing while you collected praise for my work. I only planned this. I glanced at my watch again. About 12 hours ago, after you called me useless in front of everyone we know. My phone vibrated, a new notification from another client canceling their contract.
And time's running out, I added. What's it going to be?
The next hour was a whirlwind of paperwork and lawyers. By noon, I was alone in what was now my office, staring out at the city. The company I had built was finally, truly mine. But the victory felt hollow. Family relationships lay in ruins around me, trust shattered like broken glass. Mom visited me that evening, her eyes red from crying. Did it have to end this way? She asked softly. They left me no choice, I replied, my voice calm but firm. They would have taken everything I built and discarded me without a second thought. She nodded slowly, understanding but sad. And now? I showed her the plans I'd already drafted, expansions, new product lines, innovations I'd been holding back. Now I'll build something even bigger, but this time, I'll do it without carrying people who see me as useless. Over the next year, Chen Technologies, under my sole leadership, tripled its value. Emma found a job at a startup in Silicon Valley, less glamorous but hopefully more humbling. Dad retired, finally realizing that his favorite daughter had nearly destroyed his legacy. We see each other at family gatherings, maintaining a polite distance that hides wounds that may never fully heal. Sometimes, late at night, I look at old family photos and feel a pang of sadness for what we lost. But then I remember that night at the birthday party, the look of disdain on Emma's face, the way Dad silently agreed with her cruel words. In both business and family, respect is earned, not given. They learned that lesson too late. And me? I learned that sometimes the quiet ones, the ones dismissed as insignificant, are the ones you should watch. Because we're the ones who know how to build something from nothing, and how to reclaim it all when others try to take it from us. My story spread in business circles, a cautionary tale about underestimating the wrong person. These days when I attend industry events, I often hear whispers. That's Sarah Chen, the one who... They never finish the sentence, but they don't need to. My success speaks for itself. Last week, I received an invitation to give a speech at the EMA Business School graduation ceremony. The theme, Hidden Strengths, the Power of Underestimated Leaders. I accepted the invitation with a small smile, already planning my speech. After all, I have a story to tell. The company continues to thrive under my leadership, but more importantly, I found peace with my decisions. Sometimes the strongest message you can send is simply proving that they were wrong. And sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying others, it's rising so high that they can't help but see their own mistakes. As I write this from my office overlooking the city, I remember something my mother once told me. Success is the best revenge, but wisdom lies in knowing when to stop seeking revenge and start seeking growth. She was right. I've moved past the need for revenge. Today, I focus on building something meaningful, something that transcends petty envy and family drama. I still have that wrapped birthday gift I never gave Dad, a photo album chronicling the company's journey from that small repair shop to what it is today. Maybe one day when the wounds have healed enough, I'll finally give it to him. Until then, it serves as a reminder that our greatest strengths often come from the very things others underestimate about us.